I thought Prince Andrew's scandals were kind of in the past. Epstein, obviously he's dead now, and that he's paid the money out to Virginia Giuffre. The royal family are trying to look to the future at the moment, aren't they? They're looking to be optimistic and go to in the new year. Well, now the King's recovering from cancer, the Princess of Wales. They should be looking positively, but it doesn't appear that the scandals are going away.
Yeah, and Harry and Meghan, for example, have also been accused of capitalising on their royal titles as well. But all of the royals we've discussed so far this show, in terms of how are they being funded, are the so-called royal hangers-on, the non-kind of working royals, because the King, Prince William, and their spouses are pretty transparent, I would argue. But it is this question about those who don't have an official role with members of the royal family. And we've been led to believe that King Charles wants a much more slimmed down monarchy, but like it or not, they are still members of his family. And because they have that connection with the king, with the monarchy, with them, they are going to have that privilege in terms of people are going to be interested to do deals with them or do marketing or have marketing opportunities with them because they have that status.
But if they were sensible, they would. They would know where the boundaries lie. You don't hear these scandals about some of the other members of the royal families. It's what I call the rogue royals. It's Harry and Meghan, Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, who are the two main culprits here. One of the tropes of the crown, in some ways, is the division between public service and private pleasure. And here, I'm afraid, people are putting their private pleasure and profit ahead of their public service.
I think what Harry and Meghan did this year, particularly with their parents' network, trying to get a group of parents together to support each other whose children have been harmed by social media and online use, is one of Harry's kind of passions, and it's another kind of charity project that he's really been involved with. And what I've noticed recently is this kind of separation, professional separation of Harry and Meghan. So Harry, for example, is focusing very much on his Invictus Games. He's focusing on this online social media use, whereas Meghan, with American Riviera Orchard, her lifestyle brand, we haven't seen much about it. And Meghan occasionally pops up at odd charity engagements in Los Angeles. Harry was in New York recently. Meghan was the other side of the country doing something in LA. And it's not that brand Sussex, which we were led to believe would happen when they stood back as working members in 2020. And we saw separate images of them on this Christmas card too.
But in some ways, I suppose she can get away with commercial exploitation in a way that he can't. But you think in some ways they're separating both professionally and personally. And this may be the beginnings of something else that's happening. Maybe the door is being left open for Harry to come back to Britain.
And having the photograph of Harry and Meghan and their two children, and there was one of Harry and Meghan looking pretty loved up, I think does show the other side of them as well. They want to be a mother and father, and I'm sure they do love their children very dearly. And I think Harry's insistence on protection for that young family, I think, shines through a little bit in that card.
Andrew's brought up this idea of we talked about it quite a lot this year about Harry potentially wanting to come back. He said, I think in an interview a couple of weeks ago, he was saying he doesn't want to come back. He loves his kind of life in the US. Do we believe that? Do we think there is an inkling that either of you think there's still an inkling, despite the denials, that Harry does harbour a desire to come back here and do a bit more work and get stuck in?
Well, he spoke to the New York Times very recently in the last couple of weeks, and he insisted he loves his life in America and was going to stay in America. I can't see why he would come back as long as he has the finances to support him. I suspect maybe he will come back to the UK sporadically because to see his father, the King, and do Well Child, for example, one of the charities is involved with Scotty's Little Soldiers as well. But he still insists that until this deal with he's suing the Home Office over his security, until that's sorted out, I don't see him bringing Meghan or his children over.